This is why I think Islam Makhachev beats Charles Oliveira and Paulo Costa beats down Khamzat Chimaev. So the recent news came out a couple of days ago that Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2 will be taking place at UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. I predicted that to happen. I said that should happen. So obviously UFC seen my video and saying that I'm the smartest content creator out there. Paulo Costa's now taking on Khamzat Chimaev instead of Ikram. Ikram is also on UFC 294, but that fight's been taken off UFC 291. And this is why I think Charles Oliveira will lose again, and why Khamzat Chimaev will lose. Now, I'm very confident in the Islam one. The Costa versus Khamzat one could go both ways, because Paulo Costa's fight IQ isn't great. Plus, he did get rocked by like a 50-year-old Luke Rockhold, so I'm not 100% confident. But this is why I feel like Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev will get the job done, and why Paulo Costa will get the job done. First of all, let's talk about why Islam beats Oliveira. First of all, Islam's coming off a win against Alexander Volkanovski, the pound-for-pound best in the world, one of the best grapplers, arguably the best striker, very well-rounded, the toughest guy that Islam would have ever faced, and he's just coming off a win against Alexander Volkanovski. Oliveira's coming off a win against Beneil Dariush, somebody who's nowhere near on the same level of Volkanovski. I respect that he finished him in one round, but look at who he's got a win against, Dariush. They're both coming on different caliber opponents. So Islam's got the experience against one of the best. Oliveira's got the experience in coming off against, Beneil Dariush, who isn't that... He's good, he's great, but he's nowhere near Volkanovski level, so if anyone's going to come in this fight with confidence, it's going to be Islam Makhachev. Thirdly, Islam's got a crowd advantage. The first time they fought back in UFC 280, it was in Abu Dhabi. This time, it's still in Abu Dhabi, so Islam's going to have the crowd advantage. People say that the only reason Oliveira lost was because, he was getting booed and he was getting hated at the press conference and, not the press conference, the fight, and he was getting booed and stuff, and it just wasn't the same energy. That's going to be the exact same for this fight. He's going to get booed by the Abu Dhabi people. Islam's fans are going to be booing him. There's not going to be much Brazilians there, so when it comes to this time round, now, I guess you could say that Oliveira has been booed before and he's now got the experience in Abu Dhabi, but if anyone's going to have any advantage towards the crowd, it's going to be Islam Makhachev. We saw what Islam Makhachev did to Volkanovski in his hometown. I feel like Makhachev's going to get an extra boost when he's fighting in Abu Dhabi. Islam's already beaten Oliveira everywhere the fight went last year. They've already fought before and it wasn't even competitive. Islam beat him everywhere. He beat him in the ground and pound, he beat him in submissions, he beat him in wrestling, he beat him in striking. In Oliveira's head, he dominated, Dariush, Chandler, Poirier, Gaethje, Ferguson, flawlessly. And then he gets absolutely spattered in 2 rounds by Islam Makhachev. Then it weren't even close, 10-8 in 1 round, and then a submission in the other. It's going to be hard for Oliveira to come in this fight and just magically become better than Islam over 1 win against Beneil Dariush. I do think this fight should have happened, but it's hard to... You know what I mean? Like, you've had 1 fight in between. You've both had 1 fight in between. How are you now going to be, magically better than Islam? He's just coming off a massive win against Volkanovski. You've just lost to him in, like, everywhere the fight went. Like, it wasn't like it was a back and forth and then eventually Islam caught... he did catch him. He dropped him after Oliveira's knee didn't work. But it's not like it was pretty close and then Islam just got a submission out of nowhere or... got a knockout out of nowhere. It was Islam dominating the whole fight, and that's going to be in Oliveira's head. Like, you were losing that entire fight, and I don't see how he just magically becomes better. We've seen them fight before. Islam, it was Islam's fight the entire fight. I don't see what Oliveira's going to do this time round. Now let's talk about individual martial arts. We have actually seen them fight before, but let's talk about their actual martial arts. In my opinion, Islam's more of a dangerous striker. Oliveira is more technically sounder than Islam, but Islam's been on the feet with Volkanovski and he caught him a few times. I know that was mainly Volkanovski on the feet, but Islam's been on the feet with Alexander Volkanovski and survived. Volkanovski's meant to be one of the best strikers in his entire company, so I don't know, man. I think if they're going to strike, I still think Islam's the more dangerous one. I just can't see Oliveira catching him like he caught Chandler or, I don't know, Gaethje. I just don't see him catching him. I think Islam's more of a dangerous striker. If anyone's going to get a knockout, I can see it being Islam. Sambo's better than BJJ. We all know this. Sambo is better than BJJ. Oliveira's best base is BJJ. Islam's is Sambo. So I don't know if Oliveira's he's not gonna be able to take it to the floor. Islam controls where the fight goes, and in my opinion, whether it's on the feet or the floor, he's better. That's my opinion. Sambo's better than BJJ. And another thing that I want to talk about, leading up to this like fight announcement, there was a couple like the week before the fight announcement, there was a lot of talk about Oliveira not being ready for October, which makes you think, why wasn't he ready? Have UFC just said, please fight, we'll pay you this amount of money? Because if Oliveira's not ready for October and he's, not prepared, but he's already been signed and, he's already fighting in October, surely that means he's, trying to rush it a little bit, or maybe he feels under pressure. Because if Oliveira's not 100% going into this fight, he's not going to win. I don't think he wins even if he's 100%, but if you're not ready for October, if you're not ready for Islam, then that's quite worrying as an Oliveira fan, But that is why I think Islam beats Oliveira. He's beaten him before. He's got the crowd advantage. He's coming off a more impressive win. He's got the better styles to do it. Oliveira just doesn't seem like he's ready yet. But yeah, that is why I think Islam beats Oliveira. I'm not saying I want Islam to win. I'm not saying I want Oliveira to lose. If I'm just making a simple prediction that I think Islam beats Oliveira. Then we move on to the Paulo Costa versus Khamzat co-main event. Now this is a lot shorter, but this is why I think Paulo Costa can actually beat Khamzat Chimaev. It's a 3-round fight, so it's not like Costa's going to absolutely gas. I mean, he's been 5 rounds with Adesanya. Well, not 5 rounds, he did get finished, but he's been in the later rounds of Adesanya. So Khamzat couldn't ragdoll a small welterweight like Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns was a lightweight who moved up to welterweight because he couldn't be horse cutting anymore. That's it. And Khamzat didn't, Khamzat could not ragdoll Gilbert Burns. How is he going to ragdoll a light heavyweight or a huge middleweight in Paulo Costa? I just don't see it happening, and I can't see him ragdolling Costa like he ragdolled, Kevin Holland or anything. I don't know. I just don't see it. If you can't do it to Burns, what makes you think you're going to do it to Costa? I know that Burns had like a jiu-jitsu threat, but if you're scared to take him down because of jiu-jitsu, like, he's not ragdolling. That's Khamzat's. That's what he's known for. He's known for picking people up and slamming them and ragdolling him until he finds a submission. I don't see him doing that to Paulo Costa. The guy is huge. The guy weighed in his last fight, not his last fight, but the Vettori fight, as a light heavyweight. He's struggling to make middleweight. Gilbert Burns is a small welterweight. And if he couldn't do that to Burns, what makes you think he's going to do it to Costa? When it comes to pure power, I think Paulo's got way more power. I think Costa's got way more power. He rocked Luke Rockhold about 20 times, who's a former champion, by the way. He's got so many knockouts in his career as well. He's an absolute beast. Paulo Costa's got some of the most power in the middleweight division. Khamzat Chimaev, he's knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, whatever his name is, and that's about it. I mean, what else has he done? He's not shown like great depth of power besides that one knockout he had. I know he knocked out Ikram as well in a different promotion, but if anyone's getting the power, it's got to be Costa. He's got so much power. That's what he's known for. He's also meant to be on steroids as well, which only gives him an advantage in this fight. Paulo, he's got better experience in the UFC. He's fought in the UFC a lot longer. He's fought people like Adesanya, Vettori, Romero, Rockhold. He's fought the better competition in the UFC. The best person that Khamzat has fought is Gilbert Burns. So, experience wise, definitely goes to Costa. And like I said, when it comes to just pure striking, I think Paulo's a better striker. I think if Khamzat was still on the feet with Adesanya, he'd get KO'd within 2. Costa actually did all right on the feet. I know he was getting, his leg was getting whipped and he was getting caught. I just think from what we've seen, Paulo's a better striker. But yeah, I just don't see Khamzat Chimaev beating Costa. I think he's coming in as this huge hype train, but I'm not really impressed by that Burns win. If he did that to Burns, plus he's been out I know Costa's been out for a while as well, so I'm not going to talk about inactivity, but I just can't see him beating Costa. I just don't see him beating Costa. I don't see how he beats him unless he was to outpoint him on the feet, which I just don't see him happening. I can't see a world where Khamzat beats Costa, but yeah, hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. But yeah, that's just what I think.